Today on the 50-Pound Brain, we continue to make progress on Higgins. I'm tired of him being a faceless entity, but we fixed his tag light, so we can get the whole rear of the car, as far as lighting, is done, complete. Now we're working on his face. So here's what I had to do to get the tag light to work. On the positive side, I had to solder those two pieces together because the rivets were not conducting from one to the other. I think there's enough corrosion between the faces just from age that it was no longer conducting. On this side, I tried the same thing, but the bulb holder seems to be some kind of cast pot metal or something, and so it wouldn't take solder, and so I never could get a good electrical bond between the ground barrel there and the thing. But it does have a bond through the rivets to the case, and so I'm going to end up putting the ground wire on one of the studs under the nut, and hopefully that'll get it to work. So that's what I ended up doing for grounding the assembly. And here's what we got. We have light, so everybody works back here. So here's our wiring job in the back. So we're ready to go tackle Higgins' face now. So his face is wired and ready to go on, except for the grill now. So we've got all the wiring done on the turn signal, running lights. I got to put heat shrink on these wires. So now we're just figuring out a grill strategy. I was not going to pony up $600 or whatever dollars, $1 million to Moss Motors for the stock grill. Let me show you what I'm doing instead. So we're doing a stainless steel mesh, and now what I'm doing today is figuring out how I'm going to mount it, and then I'm going to trim it down to follow the contours a little better. But I got this big piece of mesh from McMaster Car, where I get everything that isn't specific for the car. And I think it was like $80 or something for a 36 by 36 piece of the stainless woven mesh. So what I've done here is I'm going to fold these over. These are not, I don't know if you can tell, it's not spot welded, it's just bent. I pulled out a couple strands, and if you can see, so they just interlock with the opposing bends, and that's what keeps its shape. So I'm going to bend over the edges here to lock in this last row all the way around the perimeter, and then we'll figure out about how we're going to mount it. But this is what we're doing. I know I'm going to get beat up in the comments for this because it's not stock, not British, whatever. And I'm going to tell you this car company's out of business for a reason, and so I get to do what I want, and it's going to make Higgins awesome. All right, here's our net shape before I fold down the edges to contain everybody. But yeah, if you see how this, let me show you. So see it, there's no, oh, that's kind of cool. Well, too late for that. And I don't know how much wind resistance that would give us. It'd give us good protection though. That would be pretty sweet. So I did try spot welding the mesh on the outer intersections to hold it together, but there's a very fine line between a good weld and vaporizing the wire. So that would be, I think, an exercise in futility. But man, that is super cool. So we're just gonna fold them over and trim them. So that's pretty monotonous. I don't know that you want to see that. It'd be one of those ASMR videos. So there's not even any noise really involved, except me whining about how long it takes. So we'll come back when it's done. So this is what we're using to hold it on. I'm getting ready to JB weld these babies on to the face. But we got to give them a little bit of contour. Make them into cowboy hats. So they sit real pretty. Good old JB Weld. Let's go make it happen. Alright, so while those babies cure, we're going to start folding over the edges of our grill material. Well, here it is. Just kind of sitting in its place. I don't know if you can see it. Let's see if we can get a better view. So I curled over the edges and then pounded them with a piece of bar steel and a hammer to get them as flat as I could. I'll probably go over them with some kind of grommet material, but it's gonna do all right. Now we just gotta wait for our JB Weld to set up. That'll be tomorrow. We can install it. Then we can put his face on. Gotta adjust the distance here a little bit between the wheel wells, because this distance, well, it might be okay now. I didn't realize that I had this loose still, but might have an issue between here and here lining up, so might have to take some body mounts loose in the front here so I can spread the fenders or the wheel wells apart. Never ends, but someday it will. Alright, so one piece of advice: if you're gonna do this for something, use these adhere on. You can weld these studs on, or you can rivet them on as well. That's what all the holes are for, but, well, at least one hole's for it. They put so many in there in case we do like I've done and use an adhesive to attach them to something, so you have plenty of penetration with the adhesive. But piece of advice, if you're going to use these and then with an adhesive application, tape the threads before you apply them, because I've got adhesive on the threads, and we'll see. I'll probably have to run a tap or a dye down them to clean off the threads after these things set up. So I wasn't thinking about, it's been a long time since I've used these, and I forgot all the minutia involved with these. So there's your lesson for today. If you're going to use an adhesive stud, tape the threads before you apply adhesive so you don't mess the threads up. So another thing I was doing while the JB Weld is setting up was wiring up the brake light switch that's down on the chassis rail behind the right front tire. So let's see if that works. Yes! Beautiful! We are cooking with gas now. So I tried the grill on for size and it looked good, except of the gap right here. So I added this 5th one to pull it down flush with the opening. Now I just got to let it set up, and then we'll be good to go. We can install the grill. Alright, there's our grill installed from the back. Now I went and put rubber tubing, sliced rubber tubing, to give us a little chafe pad around the perimeter wherever it would contact the face, because you can't get these things anymore. So now the next thing to do is put it on. Well, I got a couple things to do, but I'm not going to show them on video. I got to put bolts in this, which I have. There's the bag of them down there. And I got to put some tubing over this wire, these wires, which I'll also do. Won't show the video because that's nothing shocking or complicated to do. And then, yeah, I got to put old Higgy Baby's face right there and there. And I question this distance, because that distance is this distance, and right now those look way narrower. So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to loosen up the wheel wells again, get this in. Now that I think it's gonna be painful, but we'll see. Maybe not. Okay, and see, here's the fitment issue we're talking about. So those holes are kind of lined up. I mean, I've got some other things that have to line up with it. The front here, I got the fender trim taped down so it wasn't flopping when we were driving it. But then here's the other. Means I gotta spread out the wheel wells to make all this go together. So that's going to be our next fun activity. So that involves loosening these bolts, these 2 bolts right here. See if I can get a decent view. These bolts here on both sides. And then there's 2 more which are already loose down in the front, down here, right here, that bolt to the frame. So those are loose. I just need to loosen up the other ones and try and beat this thing into submission. We'll see how this goes. This may turn real ugly real fast. His face is on. I still have stuff to do under there, like route the wiring for the lights, but his face is on. It's still nasty from the violence that was required to get all these piece parts to line up. But he has a face. He has a grill. He has still a lot of things have to happen to him, but he's getting there. So that's it for this week. Thanks for watching.